Well, welcome again to another episode of Upon Further Review, where we review Week 11. We're going to crown a Player of the Week, have some honorable mentions here, and we'll also preview Week 12 here, the district championships here. And thank you so much for being with us here. Ray Halbrook from Livestream STL Media Upon Further Review here. We've got the panel going on here today, and Scotty Lotta in the middle there. How you doing, Scotty?
Good evening.
Good evening. And Matthew Bates at the end here. Matthew.
Hello, hello.
Got a fun one on tap here, and we're going to get right to it here for our Week 11 results. Our live stream STL game of the week, and boy, what a game it was there. 14-7, Northwest over Seckman. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute there. Other games here, Festus 41, Hillsboro nothing. Grandview 55, Louisiana 48. Van Far 52, Crystal City 6. St. Pius X 41, St. Vincent 33. Valley Catholic 49, Herculaneum 8. North County 51, Perryville 7, Eureka 21, Rockwood 7-3, Jackson 49, Oakville 7, and Farmington 49, Fox 28.
Man,
guys, we want to preview this or review this particular game here, and it's probably one of the best games that I've seen all year long. A 14-7 win for the Northwest Lions, getting a little bit of some redemption from earlier this season, and yeah, so Scotty had he had the call. I want to get Scotty's take on this particular game.
Well, on paper, you were looking in, hey, they played each other in week 3, and Seckman thoroughly dominated, 49-14. And I got to see the Northwest Lions 2 weeks ago in their finale at home against Oakville, 10-7 victory for the Tigers. But what really struck me was Northwest defense was just kind of like you've seen that movie, The Blob. It was just kind of like they were just everywhere. They were just like encompassing everything, and they were just affecting so much. And you're like, both of these teams have the ability to put up 40, 50 points, and they're just smothering each other. Matt?
I agree that to me this was like a tale of two cities. And that I had the benefit of doing the week 3 game that the Jaguars did a number on them, but again it was that small window of game in about 9 minutes to where Northwest took a gut punch. Seckman threw up 21 points. Northwest couldn't respond from it. To where that game just the other week against Oakville, to where you saw the thing like a field goal was the one thing that separated them between them and either a tie or a win. And you just wondered, okay, did they learn anything from that Seckman game back in week 3? To where, after, hanging in with Oakville in a heavyweight fight, how would that square up with, like the what did we learn? Did we improve to where, okay, if we play Seckman now, what can we do? And honestly, I said last week that this could be a game that you really hope that you don't see Seckman looking past to get to Jackson.
Yeah.
That Jackson is in the back of their heads all the time to where they can't wait to have that rematch again. But as I said, oh, by the way, you got the Northwest Lions that are chomping at the bit for the first time in Lord knows how long to where this game is relevant. And if you sleep on the Lions, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And I look up and down to where when I was watching that game, there was at least 3 different times where Seckman had a 4th down inside the 20 or let's say the 21 to where they had opportunities to kick field goals because their 4th, at one point, one was a 4th and 11, one was a 4th and 8, and the other was a 4th and 3 at the 16. And nearly all 3 of those were right in the middle of the field where Brajic could have put 3 through the pipes to where when you headed to the 4th quarter, you would have had a 16-7 lead if you were on the Seckman side of the ball. To where I would ask you doing the game, Scotty, that back in that first quarter with about 2 minutes left, if Brajic puts one through to make it a 10-7 ball game at the end of the first, do you think that changes the complexity of the game, like at all, to take everything that you knew out of the rest of the narrative off the table?
Oh, 100%. Watching the game play out the way both defenses, they pretty much, aside from that opening 20-second drive that the Northwest had, I mean, it was pretty much nip and tuck. And then the touchdown that Sekman was able to get was off of a turnover from Northwest. So if you put a field goal up knowing that you get the ball to start the second half, you're very much in the driver's seat, at least I think mentally, especially at home.
So to that mindset that just, a couple weeks ago when you were in that Oakville game and you lose 10-7 by the aforementioned field goal, do you think there would have crept some doubt in the back of the Lions? Like, okay, here we go again. We're in a tough ball game. It's 10-7 and this thing called a field goal now is hanging over our head again. How do we get past that? That was just something because as I told you, I go back and I'll watch the game live and then I'll just watch it muted. And it just seemed to me that if Sekman could have banged a field goal to just put points up, because as I say, week in, week out, every possession you get, you need to put points up because as you're going to see in your next week's game, Jackson doesn't mess around. And if you're going to leave an empty possession, they're going to put points up off of that. If you're going to give us the ball, we're going to put points up off of that. So when I was watching this game, I was like, you know what? I think Northwest can hang with Jackson for a little bit. But I was like, if you would have told me watching this game that Sekman was going to move on to play Jackson, I'd have been like, I think Sekman played their best game, and I don't think there was any way they would have beat Jackson. But I think seeing this Northwest squad, I think they're just chomping at the bit to go down to the pit, see what it's all about. And as they say, just give me a chance, coach.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of like, hey, we're kind of in uncharted territory. It's like we weren't supposed to be here. So whatever we do at this point, it's kind of like, hey, let it fly. Whatever happens, happens. And, there was a couple of times where I thought, hey, a field goal, it's not a wow factor, but points on the board, definitely as you start building that mountain against Northwest, if you could do that, I think that really could have, definitely kind of made them a little bit more desperate. And I actually go back to the game where I called, it was Sekman and Fox had that game the entire time, but they just made crucial mistakes at crucial times, and Sekman was able to escape with a victory.
Let me run this by you real quick before we wrap this segment up. So we've got, you had Northwest who had 3 fumbles, and you had Stark. I mean, and this is nothing to take away from Stark's game. Stark, I don't know how he escaped half the tackles that he did. He seemed like to be like Houdini all night or like one of those greased pig competitions where, he was like wrapped up 3-4 times, and you see him like just – but to my point of like the 3 fumbles that he had like inside the 20, you can't do that to a Jackson team. So I think as much as I talk about Festus, to me, Jackson is one of those teams that I've seen to where you have to play pretty much a perfect game against them to where you've got to limit the turnovers, the mental mistakes, because that was another thing, the holding penalties and the false starts. You can't have those mental lapses against a team like if you're just wanting to be a part of the Jackson game is one thing, but if you're wanting to be in this game to have a shot at beating Jackson, you're going to have to play your best game up and down every side of the ball to the kickoffs to where you can't give Kai Crow a kickoff at the 20, 25 yard line. Because he's going to turn around and on his kickoffs, he's going to put the thing through the end zone to where your kickoff return is a moot point because you're getting the ball at the 20. So I think there's just some of those little things where, if Richard is able to put the ball to the end zone, that would behoove him to do so. Because Jackson is going to make you pay for every mistake you make.
Yeah. Let me give you the kudos here. 2 or 3 times to the defense on Northwest side. Just, bend but don't break. They did everything but broke 2 or 3 times at least.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you
get a fumble at the 21 and one at the 16.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there should be points put up on it, whether it's a field goal in some capacity. That they dodged a bullet. Hannah Winkle, Hartle, the guys that I think we're going to be talking about. Cochran. Come on now. I mean, those guys played. They worked their butts off.
Yeah. I had a little conversation with Mr. Stark, Cohen's dad, a couple nights ago, after the game and everything. And I said that was probably the biggest man's man game that I've ever seen out of a quarterback because you like you mentioned, man, he had like so much slickness on him. He's bouncing off, but I mean, he wasn't just stripping tackles. He was bouncing off of people.
Yeah. And
I have not seen a quarterback in quite a while get pounded like that and just bounce off him. And he didn't even faze him. a couple of these plays.
Speaking of getting hit, Scotty, how about Omarion Frazier and the catches he made and the shots that he took? I'm telling you, a guy going up for the ball, and there was a number of times where I'm like, you know what, God love him, if he had dropped the ball from getting the shots that he took, I wouldn't have blamed him. But you talk about a guy that goes up, knows how to get the ball, and comes down with it. What a job by Big O.
Oh, whenever you get those passes, especially when you're in that unprotected, you're kind of like, I'm just focusing on this, but you can see, kind of from that peripheral vision, like this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Because there's two chances I know that Mr. Nick Wheeler would like to have back on the Seckman side, from a number one to another number one, that he would have been like, you know what, I let 6 points slip through my mitts a time or two.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's take a look at some more of these scores here and pick out a game or two here and that might have wooed you or were not surprised or maybe surprised the snot out of you. So, Scotty, let's go with you.
Just to be a little bit of a homer here.
Here we go.
I'm going to pick out Grandview and the double nickel they put up on Louisiana. We were kind of following this one during the broadcast, and it was like updates. It's like Grandview's up 28-14, and then later on it's like, hey, they're losing. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then come to find out later that they pulled it out. I was like, there was a lot of pride. As an alma mater, it's one of those things where you want to see your school do well, but it's just like, I can't remember in recent memory Grandview having this kind of run and having this kind of success. So that one surprised me a little bit just because I know they were at home and I know they were kind of expected to win. Mm-hmm. But once you fall behind late, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
I agree with you too, Scotty, on that point. But when you look up and down, so take the Grandview game off the table, take the Pius game off the table. You look at the other games, like there was really no middle ground. Either you lost or you won handedly. And looking up and down that thing, when you look at the Festus Hillsboro scores, that I guess the thing that shocked me about that was the fact that Hillsboro got shut out. And in week 4, I believe, whenever they played, all I know is that the last 2 times they've played, it's been 81-14, and Hillsboro really has had no answer for that Festus offense. And to me, that goes back to what I had said. Well, I guess it would be now almost 6 weeks ago when you looked at Festus's last 3 games of the regular season, when you got DeSmet, Farmington, and Jackson. Like, nobody signs up for that.
Yeah.
But what it does is it gets you battle tested.
Yeah.
And you look at the same breath, you look at that St. Pius team who, when you're sitting like at a Class 3 and you're playing Class 5, Class 6, Class 4 schools, and whenever you walk into a playoff round where you might be like a 5-6, 6-5, and again, when you're seeing that on paper and you're like, well, why are these guys in the playoffs? Well, all of a sudden you start getting your butt pounded and you're like, well, wait a minute, these guys are like the real deal.
Yeah.
That to me, that's why you see like a Coach Afadale doing the things he does, that it may not make the most sense. That, could my Parker Perry get hurt? But you got Liam O'Brien in your back pocket, who you can replace. But when you've got a Cohen Stark and you've got a Keaton Reeves, where you see these 2 programs, that's where I think another game that I would talk about would be the Herky Valley game, where you see the importance of having a backup quarterback in some capacity. I know at the smaller schools you may not have a 1A, 1B quarterback, but as I've said, if a Cohen Stark goes down, what's plan B?
Right.
And if your plan B is to put in like a Chase Lubert, who's 0 for 1 with an interception and no yards, and now you've got to finish out a John Burroughs game, and if we win that, oh, by the way, the next week we got to take on Valley. Yeah. Well, you have narrowed down your offensive schematic to where, again, you don't have to be a genius to see a number of plays on film. All we got to do, load the box, put 7-8 guys up there, make you try to pass if you can. And as I was telling Scotty off the air, I said, if you and I were on the defense for Herky, and you've worked your butt off all year to get to this, and now it's just like, really?
Yeah.
That, it's not something you want to have happen, but it's just like, if I've played my last game as a senior and I'm going up against Valley, I want every bullet in the chamber that I have available. And when my number 1 quarterback ain't available, you just kind of like grit your teeth, where you're just like, oh,
yeah.
And you know what? 48-6. They didn't get shut out.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine, I think my score here that really surprised me, and I'll take a look at it right here because I want to get the score right here.
Right.
North County 51, Perryville 7. You know,
Okay,
that particular game.
Yeah, that was my 1B. You know, that, yeah.
So, you know, taking a look at that particular game and saying, you know, holy moly, you know, 51-7 against the Perryville team that, you know, has played a lot better in the last couple of years, especially. But North County early on this season, you know, not a whole lot to write home about. So my guess is there was somebody hurt and they got him back. And all of a sudden now you've got bullets in your chamber, like you talked about, and the ability to, you know, extend some things out and extend some points out here. And now you're seeing the last 2 weeks here, they take out DeSoto and they take out Perryville.
And then that's where we talk about the parity in this, not just in maybe that Class 4 District 1, District 2 conference, that, you know, as we were talking with Scotty earlier, that Grandview is the one that did a number on Perryville early in the year, and they are the team that has held Barrett Wheeler to the fewest yards all year.
Yeah.
Like 20 carries, 75 yards. And this was a Class 1 team.
Yeah.
And then when you see the score that, you know, North County racked up on them, to where you take those two games and you want to say like, well, what else is the rest of Perryville's body of work? If Grandview can do this to Perryville, and if North County can do this to Perryville, albeit like in a second round playoff game, what did these guys do during the year? Well, we talk week in, week out about that yin and yang of the way this particular just season in general has gone, to where you can't sleep on any game that you have on your schedule. So if you're Perryville going into like week 3 and all of a sudden Wheeler's held to 75 yards and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then you come in against North County and you just get steamrolled again. And I don't know. I got nothing for you.
It's been a different season, hasn't it? It really has been.
It smells weird.
It does.
We talked about that before we went on air. You know, obviously there's been some trends that were bucked this year, you know, where you had Grandview finally getting over the hump against Jefferson. You had Herculaneum finally beating St. Vincent's. It really has kind of been a backwards year. So when you have, you know, Northwest finally overcoming Seckman and some of these other things that we've seen, it really is kind of one of those years where it's like you can't bank on what you've seen in the past. You know, what these teams are showing you week in and week out, you kind of be like, what we seeing, is it real or...
Yeah.
And Scotty, you being an alum, again, you know, from Grandview, to where, you know, you're, you know, relatively closer to Northwest as well, too, to where in a year where if you would have said that the programs at Grandview and Northwest are both relevant and are like at the top of their district, I mean, you would have been like, okay, what Powerball number, you know, let me go play now.
Yeah, I can't remember in recent history where that would have been a statement where you wouldn't have got a chuckle.
I mean, not one or the other, but both.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially, you know, not to toot Grandview's horn too much, but you talked about the smaller schools, like you lose Keaton Reeves, you know, these smaller schools don't have a lot of room for error.
No.
And then as you get deeper and deeper into the season, if you have any kind of key injury, it's very difficult to replace that production, especially if it's someone who's, you know, like the central cog of your offense or defense.
Absolutely. That's a look at Week 11 here. We'll be right back here with our Player of the Week.
Craving authentic Italian cuisine? Hi, this is Don Bollinger at the Pasta House Company in Festus. We're serving up happiness one plate at a time. From our made-to-order pasta dishes to our mouth-watering pizzas, everything is prepared with the finest ingredients. Try our fresh ground burgers, hearty lasagna, or our perfect appetizers. Happy hour every day with half-price pizzas, and kids eat free every Sunday. Visit us at pastahouse.com to order online or for delivery on Highway A and Pounds Road, where it's always a great time.
It is now time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week, and this week we have Players of the Week. Thank you so much to the Pasta House for being our sponsor for this Upon Further Review Player of the Week here. We have on the line, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. We have 6 players from the defense of the Northwest Lions here. Guys, oh my goodness, what a game last week. We had you guys over at Seckman. A 14-7 win big win, and got a little redemption from earlier this season. But we had you guys down for like 256 yards against the Seckman offense, which is pretty minuscule in the grand scheme of things. But before I get started here, real quick, let's go from left to right here. I'm going to get you guys' names here real quick. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Who we got here?
Jacob Hartle,
Adam Banks,
Grant Hannewinkle,
Chase Cochran.
Drew Spratt,
Amoya Frazier.
Guys, man, kudos to you guys this week. I mean, I can think of about 5 or 6 different things to talk about, but I want to get you guys' thoughts on what the game plan was, number one, and then number two, your thoughts on the game too. But man, key stops, key sacks, key this, key that, you name it. You guys came up big. So I want to get, a couple of you guys and whoever just wants to jump in there real quick and, talk about the game. You go right ahead.
Yeah, pretty much just started with coming into crucial stops in the red zone, not letting them get into the end zone and being able to stop them. Even though they drive down, we're able to finish that drive.
Yeah, I mean, even whenever they're driving the ball on us, like most of the field, just the defense as a whole coming up big in the red zone really helped us out.
Yeah, we had to step up as a unit. It wasn't just one guy. It was all 11 of us getting to the ball, making stops. We were playing the best D we have all year.
Excellent. Go ahead.
From the linemen even to the corners, corners were doing pretty good on the perimeter, and down in the D line, we were holding our ground pretty well. And same for the linebackers going.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, guys, real quick, I know, there's 6 of you here. I would assume we got juniors and seniors here. How many seniors we got? Raise your hand real quick.
All seniors.
All seniors. Oh, all seniors. Okay. All seniors. Nice. Very cool. My next question is a very important question because it's very interesting to see the next wave of Northwest Lions after you guys. But, going into the last couple of years here, you guys have really turned this program around. Northwest Lions football, it hasn't had a lot to talk about, until the last couple of years. What has that been like, number one? And what can you put your finger on what you guys have done to kind of turn this program around?
The feeling's fantastic. From the seniors' perspective, our freshman year, the varsity team was 0-10. That was just the fuel to our flame. It really just made us want to put our heads down, grind it out, and we're kind of paying off all that hard work right now with our season. So,
yeah, it's definitely been a grind. I mean, 4 years with pretty much all of us. It's just we put our foot in the ground, and we wanted to turn the program around. And we've done that as seniors. We've been good leaders of this program, we feel, and we want to keep it that way, keep it going up and up.
Excellent. Well, guys, I know, coming into this week here, I mean, you guys got a tough, tall task here this week, but I know, you're excited about being in, just even winning the last couple of years here. A district game has been amazing, but what would it be? What would it be like to win a district championship, but also, knowing that you've got to do this on the road, and crazier things have happened, but what would it mean to you guys if you guys won a district championship this week?
Yeah, we gotta step up. I mean, it'll be rough on the road. We got a road trip, a couple hours to get down there, but we're up for the challenge, and it's Northwest history. No other team has done this for us, so we're up for the challenge. We're ready to do it.
Yeah, we just got to play our game. Everyone's got to do their jobs like we have been, and just play tough.
So, guys, coming out of this here, and I know eventually, we're only a few weeks away from a state championship anyway, but, wrapping up your seasons, if you guys had a chance to maybe just, come up with just being able to sit back and think about where you guys have been right now and know that there's only maybe a game or two, maybe 3 left, for the rest of your football career as a Northwest Lion. And I know that there's a ton of parents over there that love you guys, and I know that They adore what's going on here because they haven't seen this in quite a while. But what would that mean to you guys to just wrap up strong here?
I think this is what we worked for. We know what we could have did, and this game right here probably put a period in our sentence. We know what we worked for.
Excellent. Well, guys, hey, congratulations on being Players of the Week this week. We got you. First time we've ever done a defensive line or just a defense in general, but we appreciate you guys, and good luck to you this week.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Absolutely. That's the Northwest D here as the Player of the Week on Upon Further Review. Time to take a look at our honorable mentions, and they are as follows. We're going with offense, and more offense this week here. So the Grandview offense, 591 rushing yards total. 424 of those and 6 TDs were just by Martin and Walker for the Eagles in their 55-48 win over Louisiana. The St. Pius X offense, we'll jump over to them as well. Not too shabby for Grandview, but here we go with St. Pius. 29 yards passing, 642 yards rushing, 6 TDs as well again. Eckrich, the quarterback there, 2 for 2, 29 yards and a touchdown there, but they got a pretty good win there over St. Vincent as well, 42-33. And then our Festus offense here, the last two matchups, we mentioned this earlier in the review here. My gosh, 81-14 over Hillsboro, the last two matchups there. So some interesting stats there, guys. But, let's start there with that Hillsboro Festus matchup there real quick. And, obviously losing the two big kiddos there, Preston and Peyton, or Preston and Preston Brown and Peyton Brown. Yeah, that's right. It's been a long day.
And you lost coach's kid as well.
And you did, yeah. Staharski, guys like that, when you lose kids like that, and it's not to harp on the Hillsboro, teams, but, it may take a year or two for them to reload and, get back up to snuff. But, just an impressive run here for Festus the last couple of years. I mean, Coach Ofadale came in here a handful of years back and has just continuously just richly investing into his team and, finding ways to completely bring in that reload every year. So kudos to the Festus Tigers there.
I don't know how they do it. They have, to still be a Class 4 team, they should have the same approximate number of kids to work with that Hillsboro does.
Yep.
That DeSoto does, that Windsor does, where this year you saw DeSoto beat Perryville and you saw them beat Hillsboro in the same year.
Right.
Again, to just blow your mind that, so that's why I say when you see something where, sometimes we will talk about a team that when you play them a second time, usually it breeds bad results. Well, in this case, Hillsboro played Festus and it breeded just about the same bad result, unfortunately. But as I said, that you look at where that Hawks program is right now, that used to be 1A, 1B with Festus, Hillsboro, and then everybody else. Now it's Festus and everybody else now.
Yep.
That, how does Coach Staharski and the Hawks recover, reinvent, reinvest to where, they are a more relevant program. Now, and again, no disrespect to their schedule either. They had guys like Slew on the schedule and Chaminade.
Yep.
They had
play up. I get it. Try to play up.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, though, whenever playoffs rolled around and you kind of had your thumb on the vibe that, you could probably see Festus Hillsboro again. Again, I as to what I say, when you saw the Northwest Seckman game, did we learn anything from the last gut punch that we had?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you come out and then you get banged around even worse than what you did the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that again, I think that says a lot about the schedule that Festus had to where they were battle tested. They were ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hillsboro, again, it's just kind of we're here. We tried to put up a fight, and at the end of the day, they still had as many points at the end of the game as they did at the beginning.
Yeah. Scotty, your Grandview offense we'll talk about.
Okay. Just to kind of talk about the the Hillsboro Festus thing for just a second longer. You talked about, once you have that graduation cycle where you lose a bunch of talent, is football not the same as like basketball where you have like those feeder systems? Because I know talking to like Coach Ben Elick from
North Lutheran South.
Lutheran South,
Yeah.
he was like, well, the girls, come up, they play 6th grade, 7th grade, and by the time they get to like, varsity, they kind of, have like an eye on the horizon of talent. Does football not have that?
Yes. It does.
I mean, they do,
Yeah.
but because this is almost like that setup question to where it's like, I don't want to smirch on, any of the other coaches in the area. But yes, I mean, everybody should have, as a head coach in a football X, if this is my team, I should be able to see down the horizon. I mean, whether you're a Nick Bear, whether you're a Coach Gerling, I mean, you know what you got coming up the pipeline. And if you'd even followed the Seckman program, I mean, you knew what your quarterback was going to be about 5'8", 5'9", about $160. And when he gets behind the line, you can't see the guy. He can run for days.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need him to throw the ball.
Yeah.
But if he does, be effective. And you saw that with the first Rubel kid, Cole Rubel.
Yeah.
And then you saw that with Kubi. And, as they were rotating guys in and out. But, I think you can only do that for so long, but that's your vision 6 years down the road that, after my guy here plays 2-3 years here at varsity, this is what I got coming up the pike.
Right.
So I think there's just as much on your kids choosing like which ones want to choose to play to come through the program as much as it is on your coach to recognize what I have coming through.
That's fair.
To that point of, I don't think it's just by luck that Coach Afadale has got like a Liam O'Brien, like right in his back pocket that like if Parker Perry went down, I've got a guy that's pretty much a wash, rinse, repeat of the same kid that I've got in there already.
Where you don't have a different skill set where you have this quarterback coming up who can only do this, but then
Correct.
If he goes down, then you've got somebody who's completely like
as opposed to somebody that has never even played the position, but like for a snap.
I was going to say a Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. Nice.
I would still take him on my team.
Oh, reference. How about that, eh? Now let's talk about.
Let's talk about some
real quick.
Eagles.
Talk about those Eagles there, Scotty.
What can you say? I mean, you know what you're getting into when you see the Grandview Eagles. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball some more. It's just a matter of is it going to be fast or is it going to be large or larger coming at you, between the tackles or around the side.
Yep.
The size of those backs. I mean, well, and there's something to be said. I mean, when you literally say Isaac Walker looks like a lineman, well, he was.
Yeah.
They converted him to a running back more out of a kind of like necessity last year. And I got to tell you right now, then you roll him in there with Poole, with Martin. And, oh, by the way, they also have Wyatt Kime as well, too, who's been beaten up and banged around. But you know what he brings to the table week in, week out, where – just getting back off of a potential hip pointer, a kid, 6 carries, 85 yards, can't go unnoticed either. That, if you need, that's the thing that's scary though. Like, even though Kime has maybe fallen down on the depth chart just a touch, when you're still talking about a kid that can still reel off 8.5, 10 yards a pop.
Right.
Where, even if, I'm kind of banged up and I got to supplant for a little bit, coach put me on, I'm still going to knock you off 10, 15 a shot.
Yeah.
And then you got Isaac Walker barreling right at you, who's just as big as Tucker Frederickson.
Would you say he's like a supersized Mike Allstott?
Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every bit, but to the point that but Allstott being more of like a fullback to where Walker doesn't really have that in front of him. I mean, I can see that because that is a big man that comes at you like a lineman. And when he hits you, it's impactful.
Yeah. There's not a lot of zigzag on that.
No, there's not. No.
And finally, taking a look at St. Pius, I mean, they're kind of walking through this district right now. Got a big one here with Caruthersville coming up here, but could be, a really interesting situation that they come into. I know the last time they were in Caruthersville, we were at that particular game. It was so cold, and it was really a great game. Unfortunately, they come up on the short end late, but an amazing game against Caruthersville. So looking forward to that one.
So this is one of these games, though, again, as we talk about, these are two teams playing again that had faced each other in the season. But this is like a week one rematch to where you're just kind of like knocking the dust off of preseason and 2-a-day practices and Caruthersville knocks, St. Pius down 33-25. Okay, 8-point win, 1 possession game. And in that game, Shaver 33 for 172 TDs. Kind of, you would almost say that was like a modest day at the office for him, if you will.
They played St. Vincent, by the way, not Caruthersville. My bad.
In week one.
Yeah.
So, but last week.
Oh, they played Caruthersville in week one.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. Hey, got the rematch. How about that?
So, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like through the course of the year, though, so whenever Caruthersville at 8-2 now shows up and they play like a 6-5 St. Pius, again, if I'm just looking at that on paper, I'm like,
yeah, what the heck, right?
What the heck? But when you look at like Pius playing like a Knob Noster, Valley Catholic holding them to a 14-7 ball game.
Yep. That
I don't care what class you're at. You're playing Valley and it's a 14-7 ball game. You hang your hat regardless of what you get out of that. Absolutely. So that's why I say now, when you look at that battle testing that you've been through the season, to where this is not a 6-5 ball club that you're playing.
Yeah.
You better buckle your big boy pants up, because everything that you had gone through up to this 8-2 so far is going to put you to the test and then some. Because again, if you're just trying to do the smoke and mirrors thing where you're just looking at scores and stats and taking away, because once you do the deep dive into St. Pius's stats and you see the 642 they just rang up on St. Vincent last week, you're going to open up some eyes.
Yeah, agreed. That's it for our honorable mentions. We'll be back here with the Week 12 schedule. After Friday Night Blitz, check out the Friday Night Blitz postgame at 10 p.m. Our Friday Night Blitz announcers will catch up with coaches from around the area and grab some postgame interviews to cap off another Friday night football frenzy. That's the Friday Night Blitz postgame show at 10 p.m. on Livestream STL. Let's take a look at that Week 12 schedule. Getting down to the nitty-gritty, boys. There's only 4 games here locally here for us here. Van Far is at Grandview. That is our live stream STL game of the week here Friday night. North County is at Festus. St. Pius X at Caruthersville. And Northwest is at Jackson. Let's talk about this Grandview game here right away. And, Van Far coming in here and, they got to take the trip. They're going to take the big long trip over here to Grandview, and kudos to Grandview here for being in the position and taking advantage of the position of where they're at, being that number 1 seed. So, I think they could fare well here, and it should be a really, really good game.
I think Grandview's going to have to do what they do. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have ball security. And probably try and maybe limit the possessions, grind it out 3-4 yards, have a lower scoring game. I think, we saw what they did to Crystal City, Van Far that is, but, Crystal City was probably a little bit banged up, but it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm glad you mentioned them, because Crystal City, first of all, just want to give them some shout out. I know they finished their season 3-7. But when you start your season out playing a Sykeston right off the hop and getting a 70 spot put up on you, that doesn't sit well. But when you look at Rico Pastrana, DeRoos, those guys on down the line, the year that they had, where when you're talking like a roster of like 25 kids coming in, week out, to where I even said last year, like, I would dare say like that last game against Grandview, I'm sure their gas tank had gotten dipped into pretty deep. But don't take the heart off the sleeve of what the Hornets brought in. Again, the record at 3-7 doesn't do the justice of the heart that they have. Grandview, here's what I'm going to say, and I say this probably week in, week out: limit the mental mistakes. Clean up your own backyard, because you've got everything on your side. You've got the home field advantage. You got the crowd. You got everything. You're at home. You got your own home cooked meal. So the only excuse for you not to have a great game against Van Far
Right.
is on you.
Yep. Agreed.
And it goes with coaches on down the line. So if Coach Stenger's got these guys prepped, ready to go, you'll see a reflection on that. And again, I take it to that point of the Northwest Jackson game. Play a clean game to where at the end of the day, if you look in the mirror and you just say, you know what, I played the cleanest game I could, to where if you do lose, then you just have to tip your hat to the other team. But don't take the stupid penalties.
Right.
You know, if it's a 4th and 3, don't go pounding somebody in the head, give them a free 15, watch the ball, like all those little things, to where if you've taken all that off the table, how did we fare, one against the other?
Right. Take a look at these 4 games again.
Man.
Can you pick is there a chance you pick maybe an upset there?
Well, let me ask you this. If St. Pius beats Caruthersville, do you see that as an upset? Because if you're only looking at as by record, then yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
You look at North County, but
they've been hot lately. Let's just put it that way.
But the way Festus has played, I don't see that happening. And if North County does, that would take me back to what did Festus do wrong?
Right.
Northwest.
Any chance for a letdown after what they did against Hillsborough?
See, I don't know. I honestly don't know, because to me that goes back to those last 3 regular season games that they had, to where in last year, let's not lose sleep on the fact that one of the last games that we did last year was the game where, do you remember like the 5 15-yard penalties Festus took, and Ofadale had them take the pads off, and they were doing the military runs, the 5s, the 10s.
Yeah.
And because we heard a coach shouting like or somebody was yelling, and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from, and it was Ofadale yelling at the kids about they had won the game, but the stupid mental mistakes, the cheap shot penalties that they had taken, Ofadale said, enough is enough. And he had these kids doing those military runs. You could see the steam coming off of it, because that's how cold it was out there.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just telling you right now, if there is one coach in the area to where you're like, the guy's been in the NFL.
Yeah.
There aren't many that can say, well, that can one up you on something.
Right.
Ofadale kind of gets to the top of that. I mean, unless you've got somebody here in the area that's like now an NFL Hall of Famer,
right,
that can wear one of the yellow jackets.
Right.
Okay. But right now, to me, whatever Ofadale is preaching and has been preaching, he's got these kids drinking the punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's going to be much letdown from a Hillsborough game, because again, that 1-2 in their last 3 games was kind of a misnomer considering who they were playing.
Right.
Because you've just seen the way they've lit the torch, and they have just carried it. They've carried the fight to whoever's in their wake.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this started back in week 1 when you saw like Perry throwing it like a 90% clip, and finishing the year at a 75, 77% clip. That was just not a fluke. I mean, when you can carry that all year, to where these guys have got a mission to get to end game, because we want to get back to whence we came from.
Right. Yeah. Funny thing about this is records don't matter at this point.
No.
So that's why I say, does that St. Pius Caruthersville game, if St. Pius wins it, does it blow you away? To me, no.
Yeah.
Again, 642 against St. Vincent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're at the point of the season to where if somebody wins, it's because what did you do wrong?
Right. Yeah. I get it.
Agree.
There you have it. There you are, week 12 in the books here for our schedule coming up this week. And don't forget to check out our website, livestreamstl.tv, and our Roku TV app there. Definitely just check that out. You can search Livestream STL, download that on the Roku app, and you can download that for free for all of us here at Livestream STL. And upon further review, Scotty Lotta, Matt Bates, all of us here. Have a great night.
Be a good human.
Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly